All right, then. Hi, everyone. Welcome back. I'm here now with
All
Tim
right.
Lau. Tim is a research manager at HelloTalk, where he helps uncover the needs of millions of language learners across the globe. Prior to joining HelloTalk, he studied human-computer interaction at the University of Washington and contributed to emerging technology policy at the Tech Policy Lab. So I'm looking forward to this talk, Tim, and I will leave it to you.
All right. Hi, everyone. I'm Tim, and thanks for the warm introduction. I'd first like to thank Chatterbug for organizing this wonderful event, especially our organizers. It's been fun geeking out about language learning all together. So I lead all of our research at HelloTalk, and I'm just here today to talk about the opportunity of community, or how we can encourage a culture of reciprocity in online language exchange. Before I go into online language exchange, though, it's important to understand how we got here. So language exchange, or bringing people who are learning languages together, for example, if I'm learning French and I speak English, I might connect with somebody who is learning English who speaks French. This traditionally happened in places called language cafes. Now, these cafes looked a lot like the picture you see here. You see warm lighting, cozy decor, you might have a hot latte, and there's many pros to doing language exchange in this format. For example, you have live interaction with other people, so you can see body language, your focus is 100% on the other person, and there are often moderators that can help speak both languages and interpret in case there are any language barriers. There are also some cons. So of course, the scale of this is capped by the amount of volunteers available to run the events. And many of these cafes were in city centers or in very metropolitan areas. So it may not be convenient for some due to time or costs, and some people might have just been too shy to participate in this space in general. Most importantly, there's the issue of availability of languages. So if you were studying a more niche language and you didn't live somewhere very diverse, it was very likely you'd be unable to find anybody to practice with at all. For all of these reasons, our founder, Zachary, founded HelloTalk. And in our app, you are able to sign up. You can share with us the language that you're native in, or the languages that you know, and the languages that you're learning. And we'll connect you with other native speakers so you can study in one-to-one in group chats. You can use our translation tools and correction tools to help each other learn and study together. We also have a social feed that we call HelloTalk Moments. Many people use them to share cute photos, or some people send voice messages of their pronunciation. Some people use it to share their singing, which is really fun. And we also have learning content in case that you're just getting started. So we also have more coming, and I'll tease a little bit of that at the end of this talk. But for the time being, some quick facts about us. We're currently available cross-platform on iOS, Android, and web, supporting a community of over 30 million users, 150 languages, and over 200 countries, which is super awesome. And this also includes learning content and simple language games that we have, like Hello Words that you see here. Now, we have a challenge as a global community, bringing together so many wonderful people. And that challenge is one that might be familiar if you've ever met a stranger before and got their contact and started trying to text them. And that's that talking to strangers can be really awkward. You might have texts that look like this, hi, nice to meet you. Hello, how are you? I'm fine. That's good. Making small talk isn't easy. And at this point, the other person might or might not know what to say next, and the conversation may just die right there. So that's a really big problem for us as a community of bringing people together to learn languages. But even more so than just that issue of shyness and language barriers and time zones, at HelloTalk, it's often the first time our learners are speaking with a foreigner at all. So it's crucial that we understand how to solve for this problem. And in order to better understand this problem, we went directly to the source and we asked our users, we surveyed about 14,000 users and we asked them about their ideal characteristics for someone that they want to study with. And by far, their number one request was somebody who replies quickly to their messages, which is, should be no surprise to many of you. And this was even more important than someone that has similar hobbies or someone that even lives in the place that they'd like to visit. So we understand that this idea of reciprocation is important to our learners. But it's not just our learners telling us that this is important to them. If we look at academic research, we also find that reciprocation is also a core part of communities and social networks. So I'll just share a little bit of research that we found about these topics. So what makes a healthy community? There's two key pillars I'd like to discuss today. The first pillar is social presence, which is a concept that comes from the field of education and studying classrooms and communities in there. And there's also, as I've mentioned earlier, reciprocation. So again, social presence comes from a model of a framework called the community of inquiry, where it works alongside cognitive presence and teaching presence to create the educational experience that you see at the center of this diagram. And the elements of social presence are engagement with participants, space to allow for freedom of expression without fear of judgment, and of course, encouraging a collaborative space for people to study together. And researchers have found that not only does social presence encourage learning and participation, it can also be intrinsically motivating. So of course, it's important for classroom settings. Now, looking at reciprocation, researchers at Carnegie Mellon recently looked at online cancer support communities, and they established a framework for reciprocative behavior in these online communities. These included reciprocal self-disclosure, or sharing personal facts and struggles about oneself, and also reciprocal social support, or being supported by people in the community and also returning the favor by supporting others. And what these researchers found was that this self-disclosure exchanged among members in public spaces could actually show non-participants or lurkers that this community is safe, engaging, and worth being a part of. So what do these concepts of social presence and reciprocation mean for us at HelloTalk? Well, it means we have a really important challenge, and that's to show HelloTalk new users that they'll be welcomed and encouraged to be a part of our community, and that if they help someone, someone down the line will probably help them as well. So how do we do that? Well, how can we promote these fun and educational connections that we all want for our learners? We could make people read a list of rules, which, as you know, always goes super well. Or we could show rather than tell. And I'm going to go into the ways that we do that. There are two main ways that we show our new users how to be a part of our community. The first is the way we lay out our app. So those are design affordances. And the second is the focus of our talk, which is our community curation. So in terms of design affordances, there are a couple ways that we show, the culture of our app. We can have our style and copy. As you see here, the first outreach to a new friend is actually called a wave. Our stickers are very friendly and casual, so you can see that this is a place where you don't need to take yourself too seriously. We also can show product features. So for example, we have voice messages as introductions. We also have tags people can list on their profile for their interests and hobbies, like singing, dramas, cooking. And in doing this, we show new learners that not only are you here to learn a language, you're also here to get to know your friends better and to get to know your new language partners as friends. And lastly, we can also have product guidelines. So in our product feature, in this example, language exchange, we actually recommend that you split your time equally, or between here it's 5 minutes, between the language that you're learning and the language that you're teaching. So in this way, we can show and add some structure to the experience. So these are some design affordances, but since we're a chat app and many of these design tools are very common in many chat apps, it's important that we differentiate ourselves even further to grow the community the way that we want to. And we do that mostly through our social feed that we call HelloTalk Moments. So I'll quickly go into the way that we use Moments first with a quick demo before I go into what it means for our community. So if I want to post a moment to our social feed, I open up the post options, and then here, let's say I want to add some photos. I think I'll add some photos of our office cat named Catty, who's super cute. And I'll also add some text, how do you say cat in your language? And at this point, I can add a topic. So I'll tap that button there for adding a topic. And you can see that we suggest several categories for posting a moment and what to tag for that. But in this case, I'll actually search for my own. And I will search for how do you say, and you can see it auto-populate some suggestions that other learners have used previously, and I'll just pick how do you say this, and that's my post. So you can see this is an example of how to use moments. Now, we have many suggested moments that we offer to our learners. Some are more educational, like please correct me, where people can share photos of their handwriting if people are learning script-based languages, or people might post voice messages to correct their accent or pronunciation. So it's a very popular use case on our app. We also have more casual things, like if people are just taking a photo of their hike or their latte at a cafe, as well as people sharing photos of their hometown, sharing their home cultures with others on the community. And of course, we also have people that are interested in pulling together learning resources to learn a language together. So that's also something that happens on our app quite often. But now I'd actually like to introduce one of the campaigns that we recently did. One of my wonderful colleagues, Jane, had a wonderful idea, and her idea is called About Me. So what she did was she created a self-introduction template for new users to help introduce themselves to the community as a whole. And this was a really awesome campaign. I'd love to show you a few examples of how our HelloTalk users took this campaign and put their own spin on it. So this user in particular, she actually used this campaign template as her first moments post. And she shared things like her name, her favorite food, favorite color, favorite singer. And she also did something really awesome, which is that she translated a lot of what she was writing into her learning language of Japanese, which was a really great way to show Japanese native speakers that she was interested in speaking Japanese with them. And it's a really great way for people to give them a reason to do outreach to her, to learn languages together. Some other users also added cute doodles to their posts, which was really awesome. And some others, added new questions that we didn't even suggest, like their favorite number, which I thought was really interesting. Yeah, so Jane did a really great job with this campaign. It was very successful overall. In terms of outcomes, we had over 50,000 tag posts in the short time this campaign ran, a measurable lift in day 7 retention for new users who decided to participate in the campaign compared to those who just posted regular moments without participating in About Me. And both of these aspects, signified that we're really bringing together a warmer community space by letting everyone get to know each other better. Also really nice is that the users who participated now had a really easy thing they could copy and paste into the user profile. So if new users came to see their profile, they'd have a very nice introduction to who they are. So great job, Jane. Really loved your work there, and really happy to share that. Now, even though we do a lot to curate our community, as you've seen here, our own users also find their own use cases for HelloTalk moments. Some are educational, like translate the lyrics, learning Japanese, aprendiendo español, which is a trending tag in Brazil for those that are learning Spanish in Brazil. We also have some tags that are more about sharing about daily life, like food, music, art, OOTD, or outfit of the day for more fashion-minded people, as well as memes for those that want to share something funny for others. Some use cases are also more about connecting with others, like I'm bored, or voice call, and so on. And lastly, of course, we're a cultural community, so many HelloTalk users will connect over culture. So we have tags like BKPP and Squid Game. BKPP stands for the two male leads of a Thai drama that was very popular last year, Bilkin and PP. And the Thai drama is called I Told the Sunset About You. And the other one is probably familiar. It's a very popular Netflix show called Squid Game, a show from Korea. So now that I've kind of talked about how our community uses HelloTalk in their own unique ways, I want to do a quick transition to chat about the growth of our community. So really exciting to share that since 2018, we've grown from about 12 million users to over 30 million. And some of our fastest growing languages are Korean, Japanese, Chinese, and Arabic. So the really cool thing I want to note here about being a part of a community that's growing this fast is that for the first time, we're actually able to quantify social language exchange, something that we weren't able to previously do prior to bringing this all from the cafe to the digital world. Now, what do I mean by that, by quantifying social language exchange? Well, there are a lot of ways that we can do that. There are a couple obvious ones. For example, we can look at usage data. So in this scenario, we have our language exchange feature, which is, as you see here, much more structured and allows you to split time equally, schedule time to do the exchange, and set conversation topics before you start. And it's important to note that because this feature is so structured compared to a voice call or texting, it signifies to us that learners are looking for more serious learning opportunities in our app, and they're looking for that more structured learning environment. So if we look at our usage data for this language exchange feature in particular, since launch in September 2020, we see very healthy growth, and we're very happy to see that we're able to continue supporting our serious learners in these use cases. There are also other really fun things that we can learn by looking at our data beyond usage data only. For example, who are our most outgoing members? On the left here, I have a ranking of our total chat creations from our nationalities and from our geographies. And you'll see that if we actually control for chat creations per capita, this ranking changes quite a bit. And you see that some of our very top countries in chat creations are a little bit more shy. And some countries like India and the United Kingdom are a little more outgoing amongst our member base, which is really cool to see as well. We can also uncover some really interesting cultural themes by looking at some of our other data, like our voice message usage. So our voice message on HelloTalk is by sending a voice messages by pressing the mic button here, and you can record a message and send it to your friend. Now, if we look at our typical geographies like the United States, Germany, and China, you'll see that as a baseline, typically most of our voice messages range from around 2 to 5% of all messages sent. So this is pretty fairly typical for most of our countries. But if we look at some outliers, and to do this, I'll leave the US as a benchmark because it's close to our average, we can actually look and see in some of our countries that voice messages are much more popular than normal. So before I kind of go on, I want to take a quick pause and let you all take a guess as to why this might be the case. All right, so in voice messages for Cambodia, the best way to explain why it's so popular in this particular place is that by showing you the alphabet, or the Khmer alphabet in Cambodia, which is the official language. So in Cambodia, the alphabet has consonants, it has dependent vowels, which are combined with consonants to make sounds, as you can see in these examples. And there are also independent vowels, supplementary consonants that are used for loanwords from Thai and French, and many other aspects to make an alphabet that's one of the largest in the whole world. So it's no surprise that people in Cambodia find voice messages just a more convenient way to communicate with others, rather than texting. In Zimbabwe, the situation is quite similar. If we look at voice messages in Zimbabwe, we see that in the official language of Shona, which is spoken by over 80% of the country, there are so many dialects in Shona that it's actually hard to find a standard way to spell things in this language. For that reason, there's actually even companies that have formed to support the use case of voice SMS, like Carusa, as you can see on the right. So by looking at all this data, we can actually learn many things from our community, which is really interesting for us. But it's also important to remember that we can learn so much from our community of our wonderful learners just by asking them. So we always do that. I mean, I do research here, so I often ask users questions like, what advice would you give someone who wants to make friends on HelloTalk? And we were completely flooded with thousands of responses, and I'm not able to show them all on our slides here today. But I'll just show a couple here. You can see that we have things like being consistent, taking the first initiative to talk with others, learning conversation starters in your target language, and being positive, having good vibes. So you can see how it's really powerful that we can bring both the quantitative data and our qualitative insights from our community to learn more about how we can better serve our users. Now, one more thing I'd like to share is a really exciting announcement that we've had in the works for quite a while, and that is HelloTalk Live. HelloTalk Live is our new live streaming feature where users can live stream video and share their culture and teach each other's in an interactive and engaging format. And this is actually only one part of the feature. The other part that I'd like to share about HelloTalk Live beyond the live streaming aspects is actually something that will bring us back to where we started our talk today, which is our language cafes. So we're launching voice rooms as well, where you'll be able to drop in on any conversations in these audio rooms, just like as you would if you were visiting a language cafe in real life. But now it's brought live for anyone in the world to drop in and participate. So very exciting news for us, and definitely something to look forward to. So that's kind of all I have for us today. We'll continue working on our mission to connect the world through language, culture, and friendship. And we're excited to continue exploring new opportunities to support and learn from our community, because really that is the most important part of our experience at HelloTalk. And we'll continue aspiring to be a part of this language learning community the best that we can. So thank you for having us today. Really appreciate the time and looking forward to any questions.
Thank you so much, Tim. That was amazing. I love it when data gives us so much info on how people use language learning. So I'd like some emojis in the chat once again. You know what to do. Thank you so much, Tim. We've had a few questions come in the Q&A tab.
Sure.
A few of which kind of fall under the umbrella of moderation. So how you moderate things. So one question is, how do you deal with moderation for like photo uploads in Moments? And another question, similar sort of areas, anecdotal evidence suggests many users utilize HelloTalk as a dating app or trying to. How does the platform handle bad actors? So moderating content and also the users. Do you have any insight?
Yeah, so photo moderation is a really important thing to us because we have so many photos posted every day. So we actually have some sort of AI system that will help flag photos automatically for us, things that are not appropriate in general. So that catches the majority of anything that we wouldn't want to see. We also have a really large content moderation team that will look through our posts and any reported flagged things. So that will help kind of catch the last bit of content that shouldn't be on our app. Of course, we do our best to show our community that they should be nice people on our app, but that's not always the case. Yeah. So those two combined really are what does it for us. In terms of the second question, you know, other use cases, such as people that want to find a romantic partner, those are things that we don't necessarily like discourage if it happens naturally. If you really became that close and you really taught each other so much that you got that close, it's not something that we're that concerned about, but we are concerned about people who are only here for that use case. And we have similar warnings for users if they are a little bit too eager to meet people in that sense or try to get contacts. And that's something that we're continuing to work on as well. So I would say, you know, use your best judgment. If you're on an app like this, it's quite easy to tell if someone's here to learn a language or if someone's here to, you know, find a boyfriend or girlfriend or so on.
Okay, so can users report like if someone's being a bit too keen and not necessarily wanting to learn a language?
Of course.
Of course, yeah. Okay, cool.
Yeah, that's something that we always look at as well.
Another question more on a technical side is, have you considered implementing a speech to text feature? So you don't have to choose if it's a voice message or you text it yourself. Maybe that would help or make it easier for people to correct each other as well, because you see it in writing.
Yeah, we actually do have that feature. I'd encourage you to try it out on our app. So.
Yeah, and another question kind of goes into it. Yeah, like, yeah, I think another question kind of goes into it, saying you didn't mention the unique features of HelloTalk's language exchange sessions, like the combination of voice exchange plus chat plus sending pictures plus the archive of all of this. It's very useful. So sounds like you can kind of do a bit of everything.
Yes, we have it all.
You have it all.
For sure.